Let's get to the money.
Let's get to the
Money.
Let's get to the
Money. Let's get to the motherfucking money.
Fuck the bookies, fuck the bookies. FTB screaming fuck the bookies, 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 fuck the bookies. FTB screaming fuck the bookies, fuck the bookies, fuck the bookies. Middle finger in the air screaming fuck the bookies. Woke up in the morning, grab my little black book. Yesterday can eat a dick, cause we lost by the hook. Can't win them all, so you never see me get shook. Today's a new day, the bookmakers getting cooked. When I spot a dirty K, the 4 units getting played. Always find the value, I would never be afraid. Scared money don't win, but I'm not going all in unless I see a bet I love, then I put my balls on a bookie's chin. Let it all soak in, doubling my bread, winning money with my friends. If you got the itch and you wanna go big, follow Sharpie bets and you gon' really fucking win. This is not financial advice, it's entertainment. But if I find the right price, believe I'm parlaying it. You can see my spreadsheet, I'm winning, not just saying it. Profit in the green every week, I'm never negative. I can bet an ace or a shitty old picture. Pick the right spots cause I'm the K-pop whisperer. Shut up when I speak until you finally get the picture. I'm the best in the world, tell me you getting richer. Fuck the bookies, fuck the bookies. FTB screaming fuck the bookies, 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 fuck the bookies. FTB screaming fuck the bookies, fuck the bookies, fuck the bookies. Middle finger in the air screaming fuck the bookies.
Let's get to the motherfucking monies.
Welcome to Season 3 of The Balking Dead on this beautiful Friday. I'm your host, Sharpie's Best, and this is the best MLB prop show on God's green earth. And it's the end of our week, guys, which you know what that means by now. 3 years straight, 3 seasons going. On Fridays, we bring on the only guy I speak pitching props with, and that's my boy Spin Doc Sports. How you doing, my guy?
I'm doing good. My public play, my tout prop has had a few rainouts, but we're back tonight. I'll be giving that out shortly, and it's been a good week. Hitting at almost 70% for the people, and man, just watching my account balance go up. So it's ready to keep us rolling. I don't know about you, man.
Seems like every game I bet on, you are at that game.
Well, yeah, the Twins. But no. But seriously though, like. I don't know about you, but we were talking about this morning. Like, I really like this card. This is actually my biggest card of the year so far, and it's probably going to get bigger. The last few days with the rain and the weather and the postponements and shit, like this is the reward for waiting through that. This is a huge card. There's lots of aces on board. Yeah, let's get to it because there's a bunch of good spots on this card.
Big show. This show, guys, is not sponsored by no one, and we're doing this out of our own generosity, so I do appreciate those that are here and have found the channel. This show is Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 3 p.m. Eastern, unless I have a technical difficulty like I did last week. On the show, guys, we will talk the opening lines of pitching props as well as the closing K-prop lines 30 minutes prior to this show going live. Of course, we are no longer going off 2023 numbers. We have enough for 2024. So do me a favor, guys, if you like what you're hearing, smash that like button. If you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button as well. And those in the chat, drop your best bets, and we will go through them at the end, and we will read them out. First guy on the board today, guys, is a boy this guy over here knows really well. And that's because he plays for his own damn team that he lives at. We're talking Pablo Lopez at the Tigers, striking people out this year at a whopping 19% clip with a nice 2% walk rate. Opened him up at 6.5 plus 115 on DraftKings, and that is the exact same line still at DraftKings to this minute. Pitching outs not available, whereas earned runs were at 2.5 minus 167 juice to the under. Projected lineup is 5 righties and 4 lefties. Go ahead, my guy.
All right, Mr. Pablo Lopez. I've watched this guy pitch live many times since he came here. So He's got decent history against this projected against the Tigers lineup. He got about almost a 26% K rate. His right-left splits continue to be there with 29.2 against righties, 20.6% against lefties. That's career on the road. The thing that I'm looking for in this one, though, is in his first 2 starts. Now, I know one of them was against Cleveland, but in his first 2 starts, his zone rate, meaning the percentage of his pitches that he hits the zone on, was down to 45.8% of a career average of 49%. And not just his sweeper or his other breaking pitches, which are supposed to go outside the zone. Like, we're talking about his fastball. Why is that important? Well, it's important because Pablo still has a 94th percentile chase rating. The Tigers chase about league average, but where it's really important and where he needs to throw strikes tonight is that the Tigers actually have a zone swing rate. So pitches that are in the zone that they swing at below league average. League average is 68.4. This is as of last night. And the Tigers are at 64.7. So the Tigers take early pitches so you can get them down in those hitters or in those pitchers counts. You're not going to do that if you're only hitting the zone 45.8% of the time. So I look at Pablo and I also see that the velo on his sweeper is down by 0.5 miles an hour, and the spin is also down 70 RPMs. Anything above 50, when you're talking about a spin rate, any RPMs above 50 up or down is where it starts to get significant. What that means is that sweeper is not clipping across the zone with as much break or as sharply, which can leave him open to getting smacked. If he does have that form on the sweeper, you have a ton of Tigers guys that are in the 30 to 50% range for Kang to the sweeper. You have Green, Torkelson, Carpenter, Javi Baez. Guys that are in the lineup and guys that could be brought in. There's a lot of potential. Where I can't go and get on board with this one is I've watched this man both starts, and I've watched him just fire his fastball in and just miss. Just straight up miss the zone. And if you do that against the Tigers, you're going to go down 2-1 or 2-0, stuff like that, 1-0 in counts, where Pablo, his strikeout percentage cuts in half on a 1-0 count versus an 0-1 count. So for me, it's a pass, but if you gave me a free play, I would probably play the under, thinking that he's not just going to turn it on and hit 50% in the zone today just out of nowhere.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty much there on the same thing with you guys. Here's my write-up. Pablo Lopez, he gets the Tigers after we just cashed the easy under with him last week out versus the Guardians. But no harm, no foul for that, as he has had super bad issues with that team in the past, and it just plays to Pablo's weaknesses, which is a bunch of lefties. As through his career, he has a 20% strikeout rate to lefties, where 29% to righties. But when Pablo is right, like he was last season, he did carry a nice 25% K rate versus the left-handed side. Where Pablo has bad history versus Cleveland, he's got some good history versus the Tigers. And in the 2 games he faced them last year, he had a quality start in both games with 8 and 10 strikeouts, depending on the game. Now, I am having a problem getting to this over. As like Spindock just said, and what I said earlier, when Pablo's right. And he hasn't been right by the analytics, guys, as his velocity is fine, and this changeup is even up 3 miles per hour. The issue, like he just said, is his vertical fastball is down 2 inches, yet it is up 2 inches on his horizontal break. Yet his slider, sweeper, and his curveball are all down 2 inches on his vertical and horizontal. His changeup, like his fastball, down 1 inch in horizontal, but it did gain 2.5 inches of vertical. So his changeup has more depth in falling, but it's not tailing away. You want your changeups to tail from a lefty. Yes, dropping's nice, but you want it to fade off the plate, not just drop. So he has a stupid 7% K rate versus lefties right now. It is kind of skewed, guys, as he had a 13% K rate versus the 8 lefties in the Guardians lineup. And the lineup is projected 5 righties and 4 lefties. And if you want to look at the Tigers' numbers over the last 15 days versus righties, they've been walking at a decent clip, striking out 23.5% of their at-bats, while bottom 5 in isolated power. And that's how Pablo can end up hitting his over, guys. I'm not on it personally, but I think he can get strikeout per inning. And if he goes 7 innings, then yeah, he can get out there and end up hitting in a nail biter, guys. And I'm not trying to be on a nail biter. When the guy's down like this, all of his breaking stuff is down. Granted, he does have a K rate of 3% still versus the right-handed side, but that was a Royals team who wasn't hitting at the time he faced them, and he went 7 strong with 7 strikeouts. That's the type of game I see Pablo going today. And when I check the weather, the radar, they're not going to start, but it should start around 8, 9 o'clock my time, Central Time, and it opens up for the whole night. So they should be able to get the game in tonight. It just is not going to start right when it is supposed to. So at the end of the day, guys, I wanted to back Pablo as these Tigers just ain't hitting. Granted, there is 31-mile-per-hour winds to the freaking out of the ballpark. And when we talk about Skubal, that is a bet right now that we'll talk about after Skubal that I'm a little worried about. But at the end of the day, I still expect this guy to be out there 6, 7 innings today, guys. This is not a lineup to be afraid of. This is a lineup to where even if Pablo is not Pablo, he should still go 6, 7 innings. So I can't get there on the over. If they want to shoot out like 7 righties, 6 righties, then they're going to force my hand on that plus money, because it's like, now you're playing into what Pablo does. My boy just talked about how bad some of them are versus the sweepers. So is what it is. I'm content laying off of his props, as I will look to back him in another way. Next guy on the board, guys, is our boy Tarik motherfucking Skubal. Mr. Scooby Snacks. Striking people out this year 32.5% of the time, while walking them at a 4.5% clip. Open them up on DraftKings at 6.5 minus 115, where the best line available now is still on DraftKings at a minus 135 to that 6.5. Pitching outs are not available, whereas earned runs are at a 1.5 minus 120 juice to the over. Lineup is out. We have 8 righties and 1 lefties. Well, we just talked about your pitcher. Now let's talk about your team versus a stud.
Do we have to? No, I'm kidding. So yeah, there's only one direction you can look at this one. The Skubal train very, very easily could just run over my squad here. You look at the Twins swing metrics, and this is through yesterday. Swinging strike rate, MLB average is 10.9. They're at 14, which is second worst. The only team that's behind them in that is Oakland, who doesn't even really count as a major league team these days. You have their outside the zone contact rate. MLB average is 62.7% on contact outside the zone. The Twins, 51.6, which is the worst in Major League Baseball by a country mile. They are also dead last in called strike plus whiff rate, 31.6%. Basically, this team hacks at pitches, and this team does not make contact. Then you look at some of the other guys who, on the surface, this might look like an analytical lineup because you got righty, and you got Eddie Julian, who was leading off for us, who is now all the way down at the bottom of the lineup as a lefty. But you have a guy like Ryan Jeffers. Ryan Jeffers is K'ing almost 28% for this season. He has faced Skubal 12 times and has 7 Ks. That's 58.3%. You look at the rest of the lineup. Granted, limited sample size. Buxton's faced him 6 times and has K'd 3 times. You look at even a guy like Correa, who's up there in second, is still K'd 25% of the time against Skubal. And then you look at the rest of the Twins lineup, and yeah, you got some high K guys like Matt Wallner, who's not in there, and Willie Castro is out of the lineup. But you still have a ton of swing and miss potential in there. You also have guys on this Twins team, and this would be from top to bottom here, that have a very, very, very high strikeout potential rate against the slider, specifically from the right side of the plate. Buxton K's at almost 40% against it. I know he's batting last, but Julian K's almost 43% against it. And the list just goes on and on and on. So if you are going to play this one, there's only one direction that you can look. Skubal, the other thing that I look at is, and I tell my VIP this all the time, is that when a line speaks to you, when a line talks to you, you need to listen. And so what is this line saying? Well, there's no innings prop here for him, but what it is saying, though, is you look at Skubal's history and you look at what he's done so far, and granted limited sample, but 2 innings this year, he's gone 12 1/3 innings. So you're probably going to get for sure 5, probably 6 on this one. And then you look at his props. And you see, of the pitchers on the board today, he has the lowest earned run prop, he has the lowest hits prop, and he's tied for the lowest walks prop. When you have all of that together, that's a line speaking to you, saying that it's more likely than not that Tarik Skubal is just going to absolutely pace the Twins. I hate to say it as a fan and as a resident, but look, numbers are numbers, facts are facts, and we can't hit worse shit right now. It's the way it is.
I want me some Scooby snacks. So let's talk about it. Here we go. The other side of this matchup is Scooby Snacks himself, Tarik Skubal. And he's been that dude this year, guys. But let's be honest, it was versus the White Sox and the A's. Now he gets a shot at the Twins this year, and they're not that much better. As he's seen them guys 3 times last season with mixed results, as he got blasted the first time with only 4 strikeouts. Then he went 7 shutout innings with 6 strikeouts. And the last time he shut them out again for 5 innings, but yet had only 4 strikeouts on a pitch count. So let's run the past history versus Skubal, because it sounds like it could be really bad, right? Not right. 5 guys in this lineup, guys, have seen him for at least 5 bats or more with a combined 42 at bats. Skubal has a career 38% strikeout rate versus them. Now that sounds stupid, and it is. Now when I look at how the Twins guys been versus left-handed pitchers this season, it's small sample size, but it's light and day compared to them versus a right-handed pitcher, where they have been bottom of the barrel. They are walking at a decent clip, yet striking out 24% of the time, and they have an elite isolated power of 197 versus left-handed pitchers. So let's go see what lefties they face that I would bet on, as they got all of Cole Ragans to start the year, where he went 6 innings with 2 earned runs, had 9 punch-outs. And James Paxton, he himself went 6 innings, 2 earned runs with 4 punch-outs. So that tells me, guys, their K percentage is actually worse than the 24% that it's showing. And their isolated power is just a tad bit fraudulent. As what lefties did they get those numbers from? As a third of their plate appearances have been versus black book guys, and they are 1-1 to their K props over, yet both went 6 innings and gave up 2 earned runs. So yeah, guys, I want some Skubal. Not just sure if it was this K prop, guys, as this projected lineup, granted I wrote this last night, has his arch nemesis to our boy Tarik Skubal, or at least what was his arch nemesis. And the projected lineup had 3 lefties. Granted, we only got 1 in there, and it's Julian, who does struggle versus that. And I was hoping to get Wallner, who struck out 12 of his 21 plate appearances this year. But at the end of the day, guys, Skubal through his career only has a 19.5% K rate versus lefties, compared to a 29% K rate versus righties. Then when I went to go look at his breaking stuff, guys, it isn't far off where it should be, but his slider is now 3 miles per hour slower, yet drastically up in vertical and horizontal movement, which is going to help him versus lefties, guys. And in small sample size this year, already has a 24% strikeout rate versus them. So all in all, guys, we got Tarik Skubal, who can pump it up to 98. He's dropped 3 miles per hour off his slider, and it's freaking biting and diving way more than it ever has, versus a 38% K rate in this lineup. Yeah, I gave out last night to my guy Skubal 6.5 -115 on DraftKings. I had the bet -135, as I don't have a DK account, and I'm gonna tell you what I bet at the price I bet. I don't need a fucking pat on my back or a hoo-ha. I want money in my account. That's what I care about. So I also doubled up in the spot. And yes, something in my stomach is telling me, Sharpie, you may have fucked up. You may have fucked up. But at the end of the day, I took the full game under 7, guys. And if one of these guys shows up, it should be a no-sweat bet. If both of these guys show up, this should be a dead straight under. The only thing you do got to worry about is the wind. And I get it. But the books also take the wind to effect as well. And yeah, I expect both these guys to go 6+ innings. 2 earned runs or less each way. And we have a super rested bullpen from both of these teams not playing yesterday. And that's the reason why I went full game instead of first 7, when normally I would have attacked it first 7 under. But the fact that both bullpens are ready to go, neither outs are up, which tells me they're going 6 innings and probably going to the bullpen. And they know that. And Skubal's already done that once this year. And that was in the White Sox game. Skubal now is preparing himself that, okay, they're going to pull me after 6. I think he unloads the tank in the last inning, where in the White Sox, he thought he might come back out for one more. So give me Skubal, guys, over 6.5 strikeouts at -135. And I am also on the under 7 full game in that spot. Anything else to add in?
Nope.
Nip. On to the next guy. Kevin Gausman versus the Rockies, striking people out at a 28.5% clip while walking people 11% of the time. Morning line was 7.5 plus 120 on DraftKings. And since the lineup came out, I believe it's now come to -110, -115s now on the 7.5s. His pitching outs are not available, whereas earned runs are at 2.5, -161 juice to the under. Lineup is out, 7 righties and 2 lefties, not named Blackman. Let's talk Gausman.
Well, before we talk Gausman, let's just talk the situation that he's in first. And Sharpie knows this, my VIPs know this, is that there are a few gentlemen who, like Sharpie has his black book, and because I bet primarily unders, I have what's called no under island. And there are 3 teams. And what that means is that regardless of who's on the mound, regardless if it's a AAA pitcher or AA pitcher, or if they're playing in a fucking beer softball league, I don't care. The point is, it's over or it's nothing, meaning under is never an option. I don't care what the line. I don't care what the pitcher. Those 3 teams are my Twins, are the Oakland A's, and the Colorado Rockies. I could go through metric upon metric to explain why, but most of you that follow baseball probably already know the Rockies are bad. They have one of the highest swing rates outside of the zone and one of the lowest contact rates outside of the zone. That is obviously not a very good mix. They also have the second highest first pitch strike percentage in the league at 65.1, and they K over 33% of the time when they do it. Also not very good. There's just 1,000 miles of bad road here for this team. With Sharpie already mentioned, Blackman is the one guy, the one vet guy who they can count on to consistently make contact and work at bats. He's not in the lineup tonight, so you think over. What gives me pause and why I personally can't play it is the books know this too. And so they priced it accordingly. So when I was writing this one up, what I said was you can either look at the metrics or you can look at the story. The metrics obviously say over. That's easy. That's not even a question. The story for this one's a little bit different. Gausman had some interesting comments after his last start because he obviously got shelled and didn't even record a single strikeout, I don't think. Maybe he got one. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Volpe struck out, but they ruled it catcher's interference. He talked about how he's still working his way back. He missed a lot of spring training due to shoulder inflammation, shoulder soreness of his throwing shoulder. He joked that, Sharpie and I were talking about this earlier, he joked that the running joke in the Blue Jays clubhouse is that his fastball runs from 88 to 98. And he doesn't know what kind of velo he's going to be able to throw or what kind of velo he is going to throw depending on the situation. He talked about wanting to get outs and eat innings. A lot of pitchers say that. And so he's throwing more strikes, but the Rockies have a very, very high swing rate. In fact, they have one of the highest swing rates in Major League Baseball. So where I can't get to this one is because this is in Gausman's last start too. All of his velo is down. His spin's a little bit up. The break on his splitter, which is his money pitch, his strikeout pitch, is up. But the break on his slider, which is one of his secondary K pitches and one of his setup pitches, is down as well. This is and when you look at his miles per hour dip, it's not insignificant. His slider was down by almost 6 miles an hour, splitter by 4, fastball by 3. That might come back tonight, but look, this is a huge, huge number against, yes, a very, very, very bad team. So I threw this one out pretty quickly and just said, I don't want anything to do with it. I think if you want to look look at a potential parlay piece, I guess you can, but over is the only option here. The other thing that I get really concerned about, given that Gausman's comments about he's still working his way back, doesn't feel his arms 100%, but he's close. That leads me to believe that he may run out of pitches before he gets to the 7.5. But then on the flip side of that one, this is a Rockies lineup where he could literally K the first 8 batters in a row and just hit it. So for me, total pass. There's just way too many question marks on both sides.
Yeah, now everyone was screaming that Gausman was the next one to have Tommy John, guys, after his last start. I've seen it so much on Twitter. Oh, he's hurt. He's hurt. His velocity was so down, guys, that he got waxed, like he just said next to me. 1.1 innings worth of work, gave up 5 earned runs, and had 0 strikeouts. And I was on him. Not the under.
Nope, me too. I was on him too.
And yeah, I've always known, guys, if you're going to get to Gausman, if you're going to get to him, guys, you got to get to him in the first inning or 2, because once he gets the feel of his splitter, it's downhill for the batters. And he doesn't throw that pitch in the bullpen sessions to keep the blisters down. And at times, guys, it can take an inning or 2 for him to feel the feel for that pitch. Now, he's only had 2 starts, guys. In the first one, his velocity and everything was fine. I checked him up after that one. And then now when we go look at it, it's going to show us everything is down. Well, no shit, guys. He was throwing 88 miles per hour in New York. That's going to bludgeon your freaking averages there, because you've only had 2 games so far, guys. And like he was talking about, the running joke in the clubhouse is 88 to 98. And he goes, the batters don't know what they're going to get, and neither do I. He says, I don't know what I'm going to get. Now, he said he's healthy, and that's what I've got to think, guys. And he says he thinks it was the cold weather that may have got to him. But at the end of the day, I've got to trust his words coming out of his mouth. And he gets a dream matchup from the baseball gods. A Rockies team who whiffs like no other, can't make contact when they chase, and they sat down Blackmon. He had 5 strikeouts through 4 innings last year's versus the Rockies in Colorado in a lightning shortened game. And he was a Giant before a Blue Jay, guys, so he actually has some past history this. And there's 5 guys in this projected lineup with at least 7 bats and a total of 56. And they have a career 35% strikeout rate versus Gausman. And he has the potential, guys, of one or more batter who's hitting 300 off Gausman to be in the lineup. But who cares about what Cave's hitting if he's in the lineup? He's struck out 3 of his 7 at bats. So as well as he's owned the Rockies, guys, and they're striking out at a 27% clip since baseball started. Bottom 10 isolated power. So everything sounds like a 2-unit, 3-unit smash spot, right, Sharpie? I would if he was stretched out. At the end of the day, guys, he threw 69 pitches versus Tampa Bay, was supposed to get worked up to the 90 versus the Yankees. He didn't make it out the freaking second inning. So how long does he go today, guys? At worst, 75, at best, 90. I need to know he's going 90 to feel comfortable betting a 7.5. Now, even in 5 innings, this man should have 7 strikeouts versus this poverty lineup. And this is the way I had to attack it. I got a half-unit alt parlay. I pulled Gausman down to 7+ strikeouts, and I hooked it to the Marlins team total under 4.5, as I think Max Fried goes out there and shoves today. And I got a plus 121 for a half of unit. 2 spots, guys, where I think they both dominate, yet I need to be safe with Gausman only because he's on a pitch count. I'm not worried about his velo, as he says he's fine, and you got to trust these guys. I've been listening to what they've said come out their mouth for a long time, and they're pretty freaking honest with each other about themselves. Go and watch some of these guys after a terrible outing, and they'll tell you, oh man, my slider just doesn't feel right, or oh, everything felt good, it was just a location. And listen to what they say. They're humans, and they usually talk after games, and you can go find most of these guys is talks. So yeah, definitely had to pull me down some Gausman, do a half-unit alt parlay, and hook them to Max Fried shutting down the Marlins at a under 4.5 alted team the total for that. Next guy on the board, guys, is Reid Detmers. And we've got some stuff to talk about right here with Reid. He gets the Red Sox on a back-to-back, striking people out this year at a 45% clip while walking people 9.5% of the time. Morning line was 6.5 plus 124 on FanDuel. Now the best line available is plus 130 to the 6.5 on DraftKings. Pitching outs is 16.5 minus 120 juice to the under, whereas earned runs are at a 2.5 minus 143. Juice to the over. Projected lineup is 5 righties and 4 lefties. Let's talk Red Sox and Detmers.
All right. Well, Mr. Detmers has appeared to figure something out. So his fastball velo is the same, but the spin on all of his breaking pitches is up. In some cases, it's up by over 100 RPMs. That is, so like my scale for judging spin over the course of a few starts is anything below 50 is not that significant. 50 to 75 is somewhat significant. Anything over 100 is significant. 150 or up, and then you're wondering if they got like sticky stuff hidden somewhere in their uniform or on their body, because that's what you saw before the crackdown happened. Now, Detmers' slider, which he throws, I think it's about a third of the time, his vertical drop is up 6 inches. You guys have to just stop and realize how insane that is. That's a huge, huge jump. And corresponding with that, his whiff rate is up significantly as well. 26.9 for his career, 41.8 for this season so far. The other thing that's way up is he's throwing his pitches, even his breaking ones, in the zone, and he's getting guys to swing. His zone swing rate, 68.8% for his career, up to 72.4, but the contact is down. Why is that important? Well, that's important because the Red Sox league average is 85.4 for zone contact. The Red Sox are at 81.8, and actually over the last few games have been even worse than that. So they're in the bottom third for that. What I also look at too, I talked earlier about when a line speaks to you, you have to listen. And so while it would be easy to go out and look and say like, well, shit, he K'd 12 of them last time, and now we're getting him on a lower line for, at the time when I ran this, plus money. It's probably pretty close to that now. How can you not, right? How can you not? Well, that's where you have to listen to the line. You also go and you look at his earned runs prop. His earned runs prop is up to 3. His hits and walks are up to 7.5. That's actually one of the higher ones on the board. His innings prop stayed the same as last time. It was right around 5.5. I talked about with Skubal about how when they line guys that low for earned runs, hits, walks, and in comparison to innings, that usually means that they're going to slap. When you line a guy like this, you drop his strikeouts, you up his earned runs, you up his hits, and you slightly modify his walks, but keep his innings the same. You see where I'm going with this. You're also facing the same team that you saw a week ago. I can't get there with the over on this one for sure. I think that the Red Sox have enough intelligence in their overall lineup to, especially if they're going to run very, very similar to what they ran last time, which as of this morning, the projected lineup was almost the same. There were a few variances, but the top of the lineup was pretty close. You have with Duran leading off, Devers in there, Casas, and so forth. So I can't get there with really anything with Reid. I for sure don't know if I want the under straight up. It might be better as a parlay piece, just because one, you're paying a bunch of juice for it to a guy who just struck this team out 12 times last week, and who has some of the advanced metrics that I just talked about. And then number two is that with the change in his delivery and with his advanced metrics, he's actually able to get lefties at a much higher rate than he has in years past. So all of this for me leads me to think if you're going to use Detmers, I would use his under as a parlay piece for something like a little 2-bet parlay where you can parlay it with something else. It's in the same range juice wise, in the minus 140 to minus 160. Get yourself a nice little plus money. If you want less risk, you can even tie it to something with even higher juice, like the -200, and play it for about even money. That I would much prefer to play Detmers that way than straight up.
Yeah, Reid Detmers gets a back-to-back, guys, with the Red Sox after I almost donated money on the under, and he went out there and punched out the Red Sox 12 times in 18 outs. Yeah, walked in front, almost got saved from a freight train. If you know, guys, how I bet, my rule is if you go high, I've got to go low or let it go unless you have shown in your past otherwise. And there's nothing in his past that says we can go over after he's had a monster day, as he only had one back-to-back. He had no back-to-backs last year, and I can't go past that because he wasn't the same Detmers last year as he's been his whole career. So last year, guys, he showed up to spring training with his velocity way up, and now when we look at him, he was a 7.5 last week versus the Red Sox. Went out there and had a 12-piece, and they drop him one and give you plus money to the over. Now, I know, guys, he's on the road where his K percentage is drastically different than at home through his career, but the books don't take home road splits into account. Speaking of Dunning on a back-to-back today, guys, his number is the same as it was last week, and he slapped the Astros for 7. You don't get fucking strikeouts versus the Astros. 7 is a freaking 14-piece when you get it versus the Astros. They kept his number the same. Why in God's Sam hell did they give us plus money, drop it to a team striking out 30% of the time versus left-handed bats this year? All I got to say, guys, is they don't give out free money. It's either under, or under, and I can't tell you why, so I can't go out and bet it myself, but I'm sure as fuck not going to just go bet the over, guys. At the end of the day, it does scare me that this guy has gained 7 inches of vertical break, 2 inches of horizontal, and he's lost 3 miles per hour of speed while doing that. Like Skubal, guys, they're now having multiple speeds to throw at a guy, not just a fastball slider that's 5 miles per hour difference. No, they're almost 10 miles per hour now in the gap, and it's breaking more. So I see it in the analytics, so it's hard for me to get in front of that freight train and say I've got to go under, but I sure as fuck know what the books are doing here. I've seen this 100 times, and it's either under or nothing, and they juiced it out for me to get involved with it. So at the end of the day, they do not drop people or bump people up on back-to-backs no matter what. They just don't do it, guys. It doesn't matter how good of a day you had. And they are professional hitters. Now with their 4th, 5th, and 6th at bats versus you within a 5-day period with very, very vivid memory bias of what you did to them. They don't want to be written in the newspapers again about how they struck out again for another 10 times. So they're going to swing first pitch. They're going to put the ball in play, and they're not the worst team in the world, but they're bad. But even like the Twins, who are terrible, who struck out 14 times the glass now. Me and Spin knew the next day, you don't fucking step in front of that team, bro. And Bobby Miller didn't hit because they're professional hitters, bro. At the end of the day, they're going to adapt, and the books see and know they're going to adapt. And that's what they're banking on. So at the end of the day, it's either under or nothing. And I'm content letting Detmers be. But man, I want to watch that slider. I really do, because we might have Detmers 2.0. Now I'm excited to talk about this guy. Like this is one of the guys that I had circled last night and was like, Bryce fucking Miller versus the Cubs. Ooh, but the Cubs don't strike out. Hold my fucking beer then. Bryce Miller versus the Cubs, striking people out this year 27.5% of the time while walking people 6.5% of the time. Morning line was 5.5, -106 on FanDuel, where the best line available is 5.5, -110 on FanDuel. Pitching outs are at a 16.5, -135 juice to the under, where his earned runs are at a 2.5, -127 juice to the under. Projected lineup is 5 righties and 4 lefties. Let's talk about Super Mario.
All right, Mr. Bryce Miller. First of all, for anybody watching or listening, if you haven't watched this kid pitch, you have to. he very easily, well, he's already coming up, but like, I mean, this kid could be an ace in the making, especially if he keeps working on his newfound secondary pitches. So the big things that plagued Miller last season, from my perspective, were two things. Number one is he really didn't have a great secondary pitch outside of his fastball. He would go fastball up to 60% of the time. He did a great job taking something off, the location, maybe even cutting it a little bit. So like the movement and the velo on his fastball were never the problem. The problem was it's like fucking through. And major league hitters, second, third time through the lineup, like he couldn't get strikeouts and he had trouble getting guys out because it's one pitch. Now, let's fast forward to this year. And he especially didn't have a good, he had no good history K'ing lefties. His K percentage against lefties coming into this season was 15.6%. Well, let's fast forward. This year, 25.8%. So what changed? Well, two things. Number one is he added a splitter. And he added a good splitter too. He's throwing at 23.7% of the time. The break on it is higher than league average. And so far in 2 starts, part of this being because it's new, is the whiff rate on it is 52.2%. So he throws it 1 out of every 4 pitches, and 1 out of every 2 hitters just outright swing and miss. The other piece here that I like about Miller is that MLB average is 48.6% for pitchers, for percentage of pitches thrown in the zone. Bryce so far has a 53.8% zone rate. So his earned runs are fine. His Ks have been good, and he's hitting the zone at a higher rate. What does that mean? That means he's cutting the corners more, and he's cutting the low part of the zone with that splitter more. Why that's important for this one is MLB average for swing rate inside the zone is 85.4%. The Cubs are 83.1. They're a patient team. They take pitches. When you take pitches against a guy that hits the zone 53.8% of the time and has a splitter, 2 things can happen. Number one is you rack up early strikes and go down 0-1, 0-2, 1-2. And number 2, you then set yourself up for that 52.2% splitter. So I know why it's lined as it is at 5.5, because the Cubs have been very elite at not striking out this year. They're actually, their overall lineup has been really good. 20.6% strikeout rate to a 12.2% walk rate. That's a difference of 8.4% between the two. That's actually the second best in Major League Baseball coming into today. The only team better is Arizona, who's at a 6.6% gap between the two. So long story short, this is a very, very disciplined Cubs team. However, what they have done so far this year is they have taken pitches, and they take early pitches. Miller is hitting the zone early with that fastball and some of his secondary pitches, 4 strikes, which sets you up for the splitter. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the most disciplined team in the world. A well-timed, well-placed splitter is the kryptonite for damn near every major league hitter. You can watch Kevin Gausman if you don't believe me. You can watch a bunch of other guys. A well-timed splitter combined with a good fastball, which Miller has both now, can be all the difference in the world. So I don't think under is an option here, even if you are of the belief that the Cubs are extremely disciplined and extremely high contact, which they are for both. But Miller has the right tools to be the kryptonite here.
Yeah, as well as that 52% whiff rate on that split. He's got a 40% whiff rate on his fastball. Woof! Now we get guys Bryce Miller versus the Cubs, where K-prop overs have gone to die so far in 2024. Is on this short year, the Cubs are tops in the league in walk percentage versus righties, as well as bottom 10 in strikeout percentage. And I'm gonna tell you, depending on the lineup, I want the over. And like I said at the beginning of this may be like my best bet today, as this man through his career has had an issue striking out lefties, like Spin just said. But this year it's at a decent 25%, and it's going to stay, guys, if not get better. As last year, he didn't have the splitter he was talking about. And so far in 40 pitches this year, He's thrown it to 28 times to the left-handed side, and he has 8 strikeouts on that pitch. Yeah, I think he's got lefties figured out this year just fine, as well as his vertical and horizontal break being up 2 inches on all of his pitches that he used last year. Fastball, sinker, slider. So all in all, guys, I want the over when lineups come out. Now, it's just not because his breaking stuff is up from where it was last year. It's because he has the pitch mix that this team struggles versus. Yes, I missed it by the hook versus Cease, but he had ample opportunities to hit that over, and I'd run it again at the plus money that I got for it. High velocity fastballs, a good slider is the death to all but Bellinger in this lineup. Well, he's got a little bit more than that. He's now got a splitter, guys. And the only other person that has that same type of pitch mix is Yamamoto, who throws fastball, splitter, slider, and a curve, where Bryce doesn't throw the curve. But the fact that Yamamoto had 8 and 5 innings all tells me that this guy who doesn't walk people, 4.5% on the year this year, 6.5% on the year last year, strike throwing machine to a team that whiffs for that has problems versus a fastball and the splitter and the slider. Ooh, this just sounds like just the perfect storm for the team that's not striking out. Ha! We about to put that to the test, though. I don't really think there's nothing in the lineup that can really scare me off. I didn't bet it right away because I knew no one's going to the bank straight just to go rush and bet overs on the Cubs, because everyone's just betting unders because, oh, look at this, they're walking and this and that. Oh, they don't strike out. They're 2-7 to the over versus right-handed pitchers. They're 2-7 to the, yeah, okay, yeah. Now they get fucking Miller. Let's see if you go freaking 2-8, because I think it goes 3-7 this way towards us when it comes down to it. So Miller will be an over bet for me. I'll tweet it out when we get there. I just want to check the lineups out as like I said, there's not really much they can do to sway my opinion. I just knew a bunch of money wasn't going to come in and the line would stay around the same. Last guy we're going to talk about is my boy Yoshi. Yoshi, the I'm not betting on baseball, Yamamoto versus the Padres, part 2. Striking people out this year 32% of the time while walking people 6% of the time. Morning line was 5.5 at plus 130. That was the opening line last night. 5.5 plus 130. Woke up 4.5 minus 112. Now 4.5 minus 140 on BetMGM. Pitching outs are 15.5 minus 120 juice to the under. His earned runs are 2.5 minus 185 juice to the under as well. Projected lineup for your Padres is 5 righties and 4 lefties. Let's talk a little bit of Yoshi Yamamoto.
All right, so I'm actually going to talk a little bit more about his opponent, because this is your guy in your squad, so I don't want to steal no thunder on this one. I'm going to talk about the opponent. So the opponent, the Padres. So the things that you want to look for with the Padres, number one is they have faced some, at least recently, some weaker starters with like Kyle Hendricks, etc. They have the highest zone contact rate in the league at 90.1%. They're the only team in Major League Baseball over 90%. They are second highest in overall contact rate at 81, and they are third lowest, I apologize, in swinging strike rate at 8.8%. So, high contact team, a team that swings right about league average on everything, but just makes an incredible amount of contact and does not miss on pitches for swinging strikes. Now, knowing all of that, their strikeout percentage matches up pretty well, 19.7%, with an 8.4% walk rate. I look over on the other side and I look at Yoshi, and now small sample size so far, but he does get more whiffs than chase. So far this year, his chase rate is in the 29th percentile. His whiff rate is in the 80th percentile. So you have a pitcher who has been elite at getting guys to swing and miss against one of the lowest swing and miss teams in the league. Now, Sharpie, I'm just going to turn it over to you because I learn something every time I talk to you with you about Yoshi, and you know the guy better than me. So I'm going to stay in my lane, and you have at it.
We talked earlier, and you're like, "Yeah, Sharpie, I wasn't gonna do a big write up, dude. That's your
Nope.
guy.
It's
You
your guy,
fucking
your
go."
team. Do it. Tell the people.
Yeah, guys. At the end of the day, it's a second shot versus a Padres team. Yeah, where in Korea, we all know he got baptized, going 1 inning, giving up 5 earned runs. As I was afraid to run versus him, guys. But he backed it up with good starts versus the Cardinals and Cubs. And the Cubs, guys, where they had 5 people in the lineup who swung first pitch. So I was afraid to go over because I'm starting to realize that that is detrimental for what this guy does. He went out and changed what everyone thought and stopped throwing first pitch strikes and ended up having 8 strikeouts in 5 innings. Now, there's 7 people in this lineup of the Padres that are elite when it comes to swinging at the first pitch. Like my boy said next to me, elite at making contact in the zone. And if you know anything about Yoshi, guys, he's a strike throwing machine from Japan. He didn't walk people. And I stayed off of him the first game of the Padres, guys, because of that. Strictly because I was like, dude, they're going to jump this guy. First pitch, they're not going to let this guy get down. Now, this guy is the equivalent of a 3-time Cy Young Award winner in Japan, and he's not even 26 years old. So does he have the ability to go out there and pitch people backwards? Yes. Yes, he does. That's why I can't get on the under. But all the stats and the reasonings why Spin Doc just read out how good they are at making contact in the zone, swinging at pitches in the zone. What I said about them swinging first pitch, it's a recipe disaster for a K-prop over, guys. It shows me that this guy can end up going innings and only have 4 or 5 strikeouts and end up being right on that number. Now, they opened him at 5.5. And that right there, someone came in and seen everything we were talking about. They moved it 30 cents to plus 102, and then they dropped the hammer to where they dropped this K-prop a whole number to minus 110 by the morning. They're like, we need over money. We need over money. The worst things for the books today is if Yoshi lands on 5. Then the under money hits, and then the over money hits as well. So they've taken the over money as it's at minus 140. I'm not willing to get in on a guess or a think. Do I believe he has the type of shit to go pitch people backwards? Yes. But I can't bet thinks, guys, at the end of the day. And this Padre team is the kryptonite to Yoshi. It was proven in the first game. Now, can he adapt? And I would like to say I'd like to believe he can, but there is no history of showing us that he can adapt. So until I get proof, I've got to let it go. But if it happens that he gets cracked again, we know how to take his unders then from here on out, guys, because if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck, guys. And Yoshi might be a duck. He might not be Yoshi is what I'm getting at, guys. So we always got to look for keys. Keys talking about how we play their overs, how we play their unders. If they're a high contact first pitch swinging team, we might have to start looking to go under on this, guys, and vice versa the other way. So jury's still out on this guy. I get it if you're on the over. I'm sure as fuck not paying juice. I'm just not going to do that. So this is a wait and see. I don't like to bet with my heart, so I've got to pull that out, and I don't bet thinks. At the end of the day, do I think he has 5 strikeouts today? Yes. If he goes 6 innings, I don't get how he doesn't have 5. So it's telling to me in the outs that it's at 15.5, and it's not crazy juice that they think he's going to go a little bit deeper than he did his last 3 starts. He hasn't gone over 5 innings once. Why isn't it super juice to the under 15.5? Why is it bettable to the 15.5? Because that tells me he's going to get a bunch of ground balls and weak contact today. But you don't want to go down 0-1 to this guy or 0-2. You're fucked at the end of the day. And these guys are great at making contact, even out the zone. So is what it is. I could see a ground ball haven type of day for him. And if that's the way he doesn't hit, ouch. But I just can't get there with my money personally. I get the under money. I get the 5.5 under money too. So I'm just not willing to step in front of it. You got anything else to add in?
Nope, not for that one. I just have one more that I wanted to give out.
Well, it's always a pleasure, my bro, talking baseball with you. So let me drop my bets, guys. I'm on Skubal over 6.5 minus 135. I have the under 7 as well, full game. I am a little worried about that with the wind, but I'm not going to freaking buy out, even though I would only lose $10 on a $100 bet, or a $110 bet. So, end of the day, I'm not going to freaking buy off and freaking be a vagina. I still think they're going to shove. I do understand there is wind, and I also understand the books account for that win when they make that total. So, is what it is. Life's a bitch and you marry one. I do have a half unit alt parlay at plus 121. I pulled Gausman down to 7+, as well as I took the Miami Marlins team total altered to 4.5, and I took it under, as I think Max Fried has a day today, as well as Gausman. And I got to be careful with Gausman as he is on a pitch count. I am looking to run Miller over, but I do need the lineups personally, and that's okay. I'll tweet it out after I put it in because he's going in at the end of the day. As always, bro, it's a pleasure talking baseball with you. Let them know what you got going on, where they can find you, and about your Discord.
Yeah. I was gonna get my tout prop too. Tout prop time. All right. Tout prop number 5. So none of the guys that we've talked about so far for my official tout prop, which I'll post just very shortly here. I am going to go out to New York on this one, and there's only one game there because the other one there's only one game there tonight, and that is at Citi Field. And so Mr. Luis Severino is going up against the Royals. And when I gave this out to VIP earlier, his under 5.5 was at minus 115 or minus 120-ish. It's gone up a little bit in the minus 140 range. You can still play it there. If you want to mitigate your risk, you can bet just 1 unit straight and don't pay the juice. But Luis Severino, I want to talk a little bit about him. So his velo is actually up on a few of his pitches, but his pitch mix is almost the same as it has been the last few years: fastball, cutter, slider. Now, where he has struggled this year is if you look at his advanced metrics and you look at his break, his slider, the horizontal break on his slider is down by 4 inches. His vertical drop on his slider is down by 4 inches. On his cutter, which is his other breaking and secondary strikeout pitch, down 28.3 to 22.1, so down almost 7 inches. His horizontal movement on his cutter is down by almost 4 inches. His fastball velo is slightly down, but the spin on his fastball is down by almost 100 RPMs. What does all of this mean? This means that he's now getting a Royals team who is actually who from a strikeout perspective is doing pretty well. Obviously, if you were on Watch Baseball yesterday, you saw them just absolutely torch Hunter Brown. But that's not the bigger point here. The bigger point here is in the top 5 of their lineup, they have nobody who is at a 25% strikeout rate or worse. They also have nobody who is, and that would be Garcia, Witt, Pasquantino, Sal Perez, and Melendez. Nobody that's at 25% K percentage to fastball pitchers, and nobody who Ks at anywhere over 25% to the slider, which is Severino's main strikeout pitch, especially to right-handed batters, which he can use it, but when the thing's not breaking, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good. So his cutter and his slider, which are his 2 primary breaking pitches, they ain't breaking. They aren't breaking and they aren't striking guys out. So when I ran these numbers, I did use his strikeout percentage so far for this year and compared to previous years. This year against righties, I talked about how the slider is just not getting it done because it's not breaking. His lifetime strikeout percentage against righties is almost 27%. This year so far, 18.2. And it's better against lefties at 34.6, limited sample size. But here's the kicker. You look at the lefties in the Royals lineup, and you have Pasquantino, 9.6% strikeout rate this year and 15% last year. You look at a guy like Melendez, 17% this year. Adam Frazier, a veteran, who has faced Severino a couple times and has never struck out, who is under 10% for the year. They have their low K lefties in, and with the righty, Severino hasn't found it yet with the slider and the cutter. So 5.5 is too many for me. I think that you can easily play this for a full unit. If you want to mitigate your risk, you can certainly go down a little bit and just play 1 unit straight. But official tell prop number 5, Luis Severino under 5.5 strikeouts against the Kansas City Royals.
Sweet, my guy. Let them know about your Discord and where they can find you on Twitter.
Of course, at SpinDoc Sports. You can find me there. I drop at least 1 free play a day, try to do more. And then our Discord is Win the Day. If you want information about that, including how to get a free weekend pass, hit me up. Be happy to help and accommodate you. We got not only baseball, but we got NHL, NBA. We do it all in there, but I'm the K-Prop guy.
There it is, everybody. We got 60+ live. Appreciate you all for tuning in. Now, do me a favor and smash the like button. It kind of fucking sucks that we got to even ask for the like button to be hit, as we do this out of our own time. We do all these write-ups and for you guys, so we don't ask for much. Just hit that like button, as it helps people find out about the best MLB prop show on God's green earth. As always, guys, until next time, I will see you next week, as this show is Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, and I will drop all my bets on those days. I will try and drop a best bet video when I can on the other days, but if you would like to join Team Sharpie and get my bets when I bet them all week long, DM me on Twitter at SharpiesBets. And until next Tuesday, guys, stay solid and keep your bank rolls fresh, as the key is to withdraw, not place a million. Bang.